Science of the Southland number 308. Jack Purdy here, Jake Grant here. Akshay Swaran is not here. Where is he? Don't know. Uh, that that just seems to be what happens. Sometimes he's here, sometimes it's not. We haven't had the three of us in I think a month now. I
It's
stuff's
it's it's been a minute. Granted, last week I know where he was because I was in the same place that he was. So,
Oh, there you go. Okay.
if that counts for anything, I've seen him in the flesh
Okay,
since the
sweet.
last time we've all been together.
We
But
know he's still living. That's good. Um,
yeah,
No, well, life. We are entering the stage of the podcast life where just life happens, and whoever shows up will show up. It's a set meeting time. You don't know who's going to be at the bar that week, but someone will be at the bar that week. Uh, but it's all
it's it's like Cheers, but for Georgia Tech sports.
basically. Might need to add more people to
Uh,
the bar. Might have to add more people to the cast to make sure we don't end this thing one day. All right, we're going to talk about baseball. We're going to talk about softball, and then we'll get into some of the sports that I did not touch on last week while it was just me and Ken Segura. If you want to hear Ken's thoughts about Scott Cross and the new basketball head coach, you can go listen to me and him's conversation on that. He was at the press conference, and so he was quite informative on that, and was able to provide some decent context as to just the general like hiring people at Georgia Tech kind of life and things like that. And so that was fun to know. Jake, you haven't had the chance to talk about Scott Cross since this happened. So before we go into baseball, I forgot to tell this to you before. I'll just give you the floor to just ramble on what you've thought about and what you've been taking in these last couple of weeks in the Scott Cross period.
Yeah, and just for everyone, listeners and Jack alike, I do grind the tape every week, even when I am on. Always grinding, always improving. One of us has got to do it, right? That's my lot in life. But so I did appreciate Ken's insight. Of course, with where you and I are at in life, getting to a weekday presser is a little bit tough. But
Oh, well, it is his
I
job.
did. Yeah, that is true. That is true. It is a major sports happening in the city. But I did listen to the presser as well as Ken's takes on it. Perhaps I would have been well suited to have listened to the presser first, but we are
It's
just
fine.
men and we are not perfect. But I did generally like what Coach Cross had to say. At least once in this first year, I'm going to call him Scott Frost by accident as well.
Oh
So
yeah, it's
just
gonna
just
happen. It's gonna
just
happen.
prepare for that. I've memed that guy too hard for too long for it just to for not to happen. But I kind of like what he had to say. I appreciated that. I think it was in both the presser and Andy Demetra's like walk down the court video with him. They're talking about like specific basketball content,
Mhm.
specific like ways he wants to run, and like everyone's gonna
Yeah,
come in and be like, we're gonna get our kind of guys in here, and like
yeah.
yeah, that's boilerplate. But there's a difference between here, like, oh, we're gonna play a multiple pro style defense, question mark,
Mhm.
football. I'm adding Jeff Collins as I will again in this spiel, so be ready. But there's a difference between that and kind of how like a guy he's clearly so coached up and in the weeds in it that like he has some sort of expertise. And uh, kind of going from there, it seems to me like he's elevated two programs. It seems like he's
Yep.
talked very clearly about how he wants to elevate this specific program. We have
Mhm.
somebody in the building that, in an uncharitable reading, could be like, "That's my guy, just hire him." But in a charitable reading, is I've seen that guy work, and I liked
Mhm.
what I saw so much that I want to bring him into ours. I
Yeah.
choose to believe that Ryan Alpert has surrounded himself with credible, successful people. Based on everything I've seen from this regime so far, I am very comfortable in saying that
Yeah.
they probably gave him that interview because he was a credible guy. And we see the brackets, right? At the end of the year,
Yeah.
Troy winning 3, 4 games in March and making the tournament. But I didn't realize, or maybe I didn't pay enough attention to the regular season in the Sun Belt the last 2 years, but regular season championships as well. That tells
Yeah.
me both
Hmm.
sustained success, and yes, it's the Sun Belt, blah, blah, blah. You only have so many resources at Troy. You play the schedule you've got. I don't really care about at-large-ishness in this case. But to win in the regular season and then to follow it up and be successful in March when it counts, I like that. I
Yeah.
really do. I think that is enough of a roadmap for me to be like, all right. And to hear somebody who's talking about having talked to Georgia Tech program greats before doing this. The first question on my list would be to pick his brain about the connection with his now colleague across the hall on the
Karen.
women's side of things,
Yeah,
Coach
Karen.
Karen. That
Yep.
would be great to hear more about, and I hope in my heart that's legit. I choose to
Yeah.
want to hope that that is, every word of it being this is the case that they at least have some sort of connection there. So on the whole, I think I'm more excited now than if you would have just said to me last Sunday or last Monday
Mhm.
at this time, like, "Go,
Yep.
Jake, quick reacts." I would have been like, "Who the heck is this guy? And why did his alma mater was UT Arlington, right? Like,
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
yeah, didn't his alma mater fire him despite him being like
Really good. Yeah.
consecutive 20 win seasons?" Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say my brain didn't just make that up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is clearly off the cuff. I'm kind of just stapling comments together, and I could have
Well,
expected
at
that this would come up, but here we are. So,
It's fine. No, you make a good point about Karen, him and Karen. It's a level of synchronicity between the two programs. Absolutely, is another benefit that can come from this as well. That wasn't necessarily happening with Damon and Karen. Now, granted, there's a lot of change ups and things going on. So, like, I wouldn't have expected that necessarily as hey, these two teams are working in tandem for however you can do that
well,
for two
and they
teams at the
don't need
same
to be
school.
like tied at the hip, right? This is
No,
not
no,
like your high school swim program. This is a very specific Jake example, and probably one you can relate to, where it's like they're tied at the hip because like it's the same coach in the
right?
same pool practicing at the same time. This is not that, right? They are their
No,
own teams, they have their own NIL budgets, they have their own fans, their own tickets. But I really liked some of the synergies we've seen this past year with like events back to back. I think the
right.
doubleheader thing, that's a great idea. Get people in the
Hmm.
building, give them more
Hmm.
entertainment, and get that crossover built. Get
Yeah,
that excitement
yeah,
building both ways. Things like that I see as more practical ways to do it. And also just making sure you're creating a culture where like, it's positive in the halls because they share similar, like not the same spaces all the time, but similar
yeah.
spaces, similar lanes. They're using McCamish at the same times
Yeah.
in
No, I
like
think
of the year kind of thing.
what
So
what I like about their both the energy of combined the administration and Karen and Scott is that they clearly are open to just doing whatever it takes to build this up. Like they are both everyone's in the same boat
yep,
here of they are in a start from scratch process. Karen's got a year
yep,
under her belt. She got some people coming back, so she's a little bit further along than Scott will be for a little bit for a little while here. But nonetheless, there's everyone's working from a very
mhm,
similar point of view right now with their teams and where they're coming from, which is
yep,
really helpful to have. Like just having a shared experience at other places around your building certainly goes a long way to
yeah,
just butt ideas against each other. I mean, at this point, like it is there's no bad ideas, I guess, when it comes to these basketball teams. Like whatever new on court thing you can do, whatever like way you want to style your team, you can do that. Whatever promote, like whatever when it comes to like the business side of things, whatever
yeah,
new ideas we have, like this is a great time to be working on that because we can start from scratch. There's no real traditions holding it like that are like require us to do a certain thing at a certain time in a game or like schedule a game when it like there's none of that happening. Like we can do whatever the
yeah,
hell we want with these teams, which is a
yeah.
great place for us to be in. And usually when Georgia Tech has the chance to do whatever it wants in recent years, they do pretty damn well. So, uh,
And I really like that point too. So I Jack, at this point, the last what, Brian, you could I'll give Paul Hewitt his flowers. They
sure,
sustained
sure,
enough success that his flowers. Anyways, they sustained enough success that I'm fine, even though I know how that trajectory went and saying that that
hmm
was okay, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
But like Brian Gregory, Josh Pastner, um, Damon Stoudemire, something different needed to be done.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we hired the Dayton question mark. I like Dayton. Solid mid-major program now, kind of always have been, but like no one was really clamoring for Brian Gregory as far as I know of. No
yeah,
one was. In fact, it seemed like Memphis fans were eager to see Josh Pastner go. We did something different with Damon in the, good pedigree NBA assistant.
hmm
Cool, maybe. His college coaching career at Pacific didn't really leave much to be desired. But that being
no,
said, I appreciate that they're doing something different from those things now. They're saying, hey,
yep,
mid-major elevated a program, mid-major elevated a program at UT Arlington. Those are good things. Let's go for it. I liked all the other stuff he happened to have to say about,
hmm
building bonds with players at
yep,
Waffle House.
hmm
That's it. People are going to key in on, oh gosh, Waffle House guy, what are we doing? We got another one. But
yeah.
like
It's
like
fine.
the point
That
wasn't the Waffle House
no,
as
yeah.
much as it was the point was getting to know players and like building those bonds and like
In fact,
if if
I'll go so far as to say Scott Cross is going to use Waffle House the way Waffle House is intended to be used. The other guy did not
yeah
use Waffle House the way Waffle House is supposed to get used. If you're gonna use Waffle House as like a marketing ploy kind of thing, it's like use it to build relationships. That is what's supposed
Jack,
to happen there in the right
have
way.
you seen you've seen the movie Cars, right?
I have, yes.
Does the line "It's just an empty cup" mean anything to you? That's
Oh my
I've been
god.
I thought
Yes.
of that
Oh, that's
like
beautiful.
4 months after he got
Oh,
fired,
that's
and I don't think I've
beautiful.
ever used it. So we're
Scott
it's just an
Cross
empty cup.
Scott Cross is gonna fill the cups of relationships and forming bonds at at the Waffle House on Tech Square, not
Yeah,
whatever the hell the other guy was doing. Anyways, okay, we talked enough
yeah,
about basketball. Let's move on to baseball.
yeah.
Hey, we swept the Wolfpack this week. What a great weekend the boys had. Now up to 22-5 on the season, 9-3 in the ACC. At least in the pair analytics ratings, up 7 spots. That was pre-game today, so that'll probably change. DSR hovering in the top 10 there. Won 3-1, 6-4, and 10-0 in 8 innings today.
Yeah.
That's a lot of good pitching just based off of those quick scores, which I know after last weekend we're like, what the hell is going on? We're reverting. We've gone back to the old ways, and this week they just like, nope, we're
Yep.
gonna strike them out and make sure they don't score.
Well, and it finally feels like we're back to the like against a good opponent,
Yeah,
like Georgia Tech TM, what we kind of expected, right?
yeah,
In
yeah.
terms of how an ideal series might go. And I don't think it's a stretch to call this against the number 14 NC State Wolfpack. Granted, that some of their other metrics are not as nice to them
Mhm.
as the the ratings and rankings voted on by everyone's favorite medias and whatnot. But anywho, I think NC State is still a good team. I don't want to
Oh
say
yeah,
anything against
yeah,
that. But, Georgia Tech going in on Friday night and having, Tate McKee, the guy who's supposed to be the dude, the Friday
hmm
night starter, plus Mason Patel, that should equal win, even in a tight game. And we have not
yeah.
seen this team win tight games kind of at all this year. So,
No, the closest we had a 6-5 win over Stony Brook, which was kind of an anomaly kind of game. Georgia State, which just only had a 4-1 win. Our Clemson wins were by a lot. Our Pitt and then Pitt was just weird. So yeah, that was these 2 games here were the first time it was like, okay, we got to really grind out games. We got to grind out innings on the mound in clutch situations. The hitting is facing tougher pitching, so it's not guaranteed to score 20,000 runs a game anymore for most of these. But these games against top 20 teams, like it's not going to be like how it was against Virginia Tech, where we won 16-1 and 14-5. Just being able to pound them for a lot of games. This is going to be
yeah,
more like this. Now we have Cal next week, so we'll see how that goes. But uh, nonetheless, like we needed to see that they could win games like this, and the arms delivered and did just that. So yeah, you're square on right there.
yeah. Yep. And I don't know. I think if we're well served, I think that Friday is the proof positive game.
Yeah,
Granted, you watch more of this team this weekend than I unfortunately had the chance to. But then again, we kind of come around to the most interesting part of the weekend to me when we get to Saturday. We want to talk the
yeah,
opener-ish situation
yeah.
because it
So
seemed to be much more effective than Loy as a starter the week
fair,
before.
yeah.
So
So I'll note just to wrap it up on Friday, Tate McKee threw 7 1/3 innings, 13 groundouts, 3 strikeouts, hit one of his longest best starts ever. Really, we had been worried about his efficiency, like not be like being at a really high pitch count into the fifth, whatever, and he did not have that problem this game. It was just getting to the sixth inning has been a mile marker for him to reach, and he got to 7. And then Mason Patel cleaned up and had the save to finish the game. So this was kind of what the game plan used to be, which is going to be Keita Patel on Friday, just get that first game done and then go from there.
yeah.
Saturday, though, as you mentioned, there was no an-out starter. I mean, or you consider if you know that George Peeperdale is real, it was him technically. But no, so they went with Porter Bursama to start this game. He threw 2 1/3, and then went to Dylan Loy, who went for 2 1/3. Then Caden Gaudette for 3 1/3, and Brett Barfield finished the game. Now, these are 4 of like the main names on this pitching rotation in the bullpen. So like if you're gonna bullpen game, this is kind of as ideal of a bullpen game you're gonna see from Tech, which is the top dudes throwing a lot of good innings. Mason Patel technically bullpen ish now, but I'm gonna leave him in the starter category as when I say that there. Uh, but yeah, I mean they held NC State did have a 3-2 lead going into the fifth. But we got two more, we got four more runs, held it together. There was a really big, this is the really big Drew Burris triple to get the go ahead run in this game after he'd been on a big old slump. That was just a huge moment for him. I think say now and North Carolina State they just threw two pitchers. Their starter went six. So in terms of just like you tell a guy like, hey, you tell someone, hey, your team's throwing a bullpen game against a real starter, and you score only 6 runs in a college game. You probably don't think you're going to win that game, but here we are.
Yeah, and I think it's worth kind of highlighting too that and ERAs in college baseball are kind of not a super useful stat because a lot
No,
of them will
no,
kind of scream off the page at you in terms of their goodness, if you will. But like Jacob Duden he's kind of a dude. Like he's
yeah.
pretty well regarded, maybe not quite as high as some of the like top shelf ACC pitchers, but
This is NC
certainly
State's guy. Yeah.
yeah, certainly a name to know in
Hmm.
terms
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
just like guys on their team. And like, if you can get a win in a game that he's pitching, and he's a starter, and what they got 4 runs off of him off 9 hits in six
Yeah.
innings.
That's big,
That's
and he still
like I know
struck out 10.
that we
Yeah.
are well, and we have our expectations for this offense to be like, clobbering, clobbering
Everybody. Yeah.
runs left and right, and this, that, and the other thing. But like Jack, I mean, like if you think about like the opening weekend, right? After
Hmm.
that, you'd think that Miami's the greatest team since sliced bread because they were just demolishing some candidly not very good teams, right? I think
Right.
it's fine to say that, but like, yeah, they're sitting okay in most peripherals now, but like offenses are going to cool off against better pitchers, and that's
Yeah.
what separates the good from the great, right? Getting
Exactly.
6 runs
Yeah.
and saying, hey, we trust the pitching to lock it down. This is Georgia Tech baseball in
Yeah.
an ideal ACC weekend, candidly. And
Yeah.
and then, run rule Sunday 10-0 and 8. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
For today's game, well, that's a I mean, to finish the going pitching again. Jackson Blakely, who has had some good outings, just he put NC State to sleep. They had nothing the entire game. He went 7 innings, absolutely shut down. Like this was not like this was a very simple game to watch because NC State would have they got a few guys on. Like it wasn't like they weren't getting guys on at all, but it was 4 hits total, and they left all 6 of their runners on base. They only had one error, but like Blakely just shut them all down. Only 3 strikeouts. But dude was efficient. 64 strikes on 96 pitches. That's a really good mark right there. You can't 70% is probably ideal, but that's in the 60s. That's fantastic. When you're only allowing 4 hits, who cares? Like that's brilliant. He was able to pitch with the lead this entire time, but it was a close lead. Like he had to really do this because it was only a 3-0 game going into the sixth. Then we got a four
Yeah.
spot there, and that helped out a lot. But nonetheless, like that's a kind of pitching performance that we need to see against teams better than NC State. Uh, if we're gonna, if this team's gonna make it past the first round of the tournament, that's the main thing
Yeah.
there. And so I think that's in thinking about the grand scheme of the things. Like, yes, we sweep NC State. Yes, we're number 14 in the country. Yes, it's really good. But what does that actually mean going forward? That is a sign that in especially also another thing to note here, this is our first home game, like ACC home game in a while. Like the guys were on the road for most of March, and so I'm sure being home was a nice reset for them. But nonetheless, like seeing dudes that haven't been, seeing McKee do what he did, seeing Blake do what he did, seeing Patel just have 2 clean innings back to back weekends now, seeing the main arms do what they did all consecutively in a row, that's going to be the game plan to win this whole thing. Because the pitching, as Jake mentioned, like we're going to face better pitching as the season goes on. We're going to cool down. We're not going to score 15 runs a game like we have
Yeah.
been. Like that. Yes, we're still on pace to break the record for runs a game and total runs in a season for the team. But I mean, just to point out who we're playing, we play Auburn on Tuesday, which I'll talk more about that in a sec in terms of like everyone needs to show the freak up to that game. And then Cal, when we go to Cal, this is great. Cal is great. Hopefully, we get some stat padding done in Cal because they are not good. But then it's Florida State, and then it's North Carolina, and then it's Wake Forest. That is three
Well,
weekends
and
in a row of a whole, and Georgia in there. So That's 3 games in a row of some real tough games that will do the work to prove like, okay, are we the best team in this conference or not? Because right now Florida State's at the
Yeah.
top of the conference.
Well, and I think Cal's a good example. You say hopefully we get some stat padding. It's in their building, and to kind of peer around the ACC at least a little bit. Like Boston College just took the series from number 9 UVA, and BC's 8-4 in the league. UVA is
Yeah,
7-5. Cal might be 1-8, but I think they were fairly credible in their non-con. Obviously not perfect, not a ranked team or anything like that, but I think 1-8 in the ACC is deceptive and speaks to the fact that any team in this league, I'm fairly confident can win against any opponent in any weekend,
sure.
1 or 2 games, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
it the margins for error are pretty small. FSU took the series hosting Duke. That's number 10 FSU in the D1 rankings. You've got Virginia Tech hosting Stanford. Stanford was 3-6. Virginia Tech, tough start to the year in terms of their draw. UVA and Georgia
Hmm.
Tech. Stanford did take the series there. UNC swept Notre Dame at South Bend, and then you had Pitt winning in Louisville, winning the series in Louisville. So kind of that's a way to zoom out to the look around the rest of the ACC. But the betting man's money or the smart man's money or the money, whatever you want to call it, would have been on probably FSU, VT, Notre Dame not to get swept. Like these are high variance games. Jack, I think is my
Yeah,
point here, and
yeah.
it's not going to be an easy road to make it out the rest of the way,
No,
regardless. So
not at all. BC's been pretty good this year. I mean, the Paris got them at 30th in the country right now, so pretty good there.
yeah,
Uh,
credible.
yeah, yeah, absolutely incredible team. Couple notes before I talk about Auburn and Cal. We've won 10 straight McKee starts. As much as
Hmm.
it's not been perfect, we do win when he pitches. Now, granted, a lot of these starts have been this year and against teams that we should have beaten, so it's not his fault, so to say. But just it is a plot point nonetheless. That was the first ACC sweep of the season, so just like we didn't do it against VTech, we didn't do it against Pitt, we didn't do it against Clemson. So good to have that done, at least checked off. Okay, talking about this week. Tuesday's big, man. We play Auburn again, the return leg of the home and home there. The When we last played them, we lost 9-2. It was not necessarily a close game. It was a They were ranked number 4 at the time. We'll see where they get ranked after this week. Um, so far, I know they played Alabama, I believe, recently this weekend. I want to say is what happened with them. Let me double check here. Yes, they lost in 8 innings by mercy rule on Friday. They lost 3-2 on Saturday, and I don't know what happened today. But nonetheless, so they come in doing that. They lost their series to Texas before that, so they're coming off a lot of losses. Basically, they've just beaten us in South Alabama in any meaningful way since the last time we played them. So they really need a win. They're desperate for a win. Uh, we're desperate, I think, also for a really good resume boosting win. Right now, Auburn's 6-5 in Q1 in terms of just raw set it at a one game situation. We have a 55% chance at winning. Uh, so decent plus home field, say 60. Pair has us favored by half a run. Uh, who's going to start? That's a question as well. Last time we had them, it was Dimitri Angelakos, who had just come off the really good Georgia State start, and then he got hit for 4 earned runs, and the game was over before it started. So, all in all, Jake, if we get this win against this would be a top 5 team. Like if we get this win done, where does that move the needle for you with this team at all? Even though it's baseball, it's just one game, but in terms of getting getting one back against these guys and just the whole machinations of playing against an SEC team, like where does this what would a win do to you?
This is like a do you host a super or not type of game.
Mm,
At least it feels like to me. Obviously, there's a lot of great weekends and a lot of great opponents in the ACC. But I think just to salvage a season split with a really good team would be excellent. I think that's probably a secondary consideration though, just to like how far have we come in like a month, right?
yeah.
If you can put up again, I use the word credible again. If you can put up a performance that says, hey, we are extremely competitive, or hey, we win and we beat this team,
Yeah.
I think you're probably feeling pretty good about not just like the magnitude of what this team is capable of, but also the path that they're on, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the bigger, maybe more notable is the right word for it. The more notable thing that you can get out of all of this is going to
Yeah.
be saying, hey, this team is good, or was good, and they're getting better. And I think that's where you start to see the pair ratings, Diamond Sports rating, whatever ratings that
Hmm.
that you like to look at, start to kind of line up for Tech with the polls and
Hmm. Hmm.
human influence things. And I think
Yeah.
it's kind of something that you can dream on this team, and you could from the start of the year, but they hadn't really played anyone, and they kind of been inconsistent on the mound. And granted, versus other Georgia Tech teams, you don't have to interrogate that in the past. But yeah, I think they're getting to the point where those things are starting to converge, and this would be kind of the ultimate
Yeah.
converging point for that if they, you know, lose a heartbreaker, lose a 1 or 2 run game, or come off with a win.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree
Sounds
on all
like I
that.
hedged that a lot, but hopefully that made sense.
No, I mean, yeah, this is, I mean, it follows what I was saying earlier. Like they're putting the pieces together to make a deep run, and they're showing the
Yeah.
evidence points that they can actually do that. They're not waiting to put it all together until the very end of the year. Uh, if you're listening and you're in Atlanta, please come. It's going to be a beautiful night on Tuesday. It's 79 degrees is the high that day, so it'll be a little bit cooler by then. It's a 7 o'clock first pitch on national TV, ESPN two. So this is
Yeah.
a very much a make Georgia Tech look good night as well, just in the grand scheme of things, because mid March, end of March, there ain't much else on TV. So you can watch the Braves, you can watch Tech. That's kind of it for us. So this will be a really good game.
Well, and I think that's part of like the notableness to me is the fact that like it's not just on ACC Network. It's not just on SEC
Hmm.
Network. The guys with the mouse, they saw this and they're like, "Oh
Yeah,
shoot, we
that
got to get
yeah.
this on
Uh-huh.
the real network," you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah. We're doing that one. We're doing that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This weekend we play Cal. Uh, Cal hasn't beaten a Q1 team all year. They're sitting at 0-8 in the conference as of now. In terms of
One and
just
eight.
1-8, sorry, they did get a win. This thing isn't updated on my end. Uh,
Yeah.
for in terms of just series potential, we've got about a 50% chance at sweeping, which is really good. Coming into today, at least Cal was 230th in the country. It looks like in runs per game at 5.5. Uh, so not amazing there. We're number one in the country at around 12 today. Probably stay at 12 because we only scored 10 today. So this is very much this is going to be probably the easiest in terms of just on paper series we're going to have within the conference. On the road, of course, the California travel, it's a whole thing. Now we did well last year when we did this against Stanford. So we've done it, but these guys have done it before. This won't be a new exercise for them. They know how to handle it. They're darn near professional. Some of them could play pro ball right now. So this isn't like, I think in terms of teams that would be affected by travel, I am least concerned with these guys in terms of talent, ability, past past uh past evidence, and quality of opponent we're facing. So I'm throwing that excuse out the door, basically.
I just noticed something scary. The pair bracketology, it is a great site. I feel like there's new features all the time. But the current bracketology for Georgia Tech as the number 11 seed in pair,
Mm-hmm.
Tech the host, TCU is the 2 seed, and LSU, defending national champions, as the 3 seed, and Connecticut,
Yeah.
historically much better than a 4 seed type of, like they are
Mm-hmm.
an at-large qualifier in very recent memory.
Yeah. And
Jack,
that
I
shape.
hate that.
I hate it. This morning when I looked at it, there was no Power Five teams in our regional, and now there's 2.5. So yeah,
Yeah.
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 So that changed. That
Hate
definitely changed.
that.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, current projections mean absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of who's actually going to go where, but
Yeah.
it's a fun game to play nonetheless. Uh, so that's this weekend. If all things go well, we'll be further up in the standings. Will we be? We probably won't be tops of the conference. We're third right now. We're gonna have to beat FSU in a couple weeks to get up to the number one seed kind of situations, and that will matter a lot because the ACC tournament's a single elimination tournament now. So getting any wins there is a big deal. So okay, we've talked a lot here. If you don't have anything else, we'll move on to our friends at Section 103.
Yes, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Section 103. Section 103 is the very best place to find Georgia Tech apparel, but also, of course, several other schools now. That has grown quite a bit this year, and we are eager to support them as they support us and to see them continue to grow. Those other schools, as a refresher, Clemson, Georgia Southern, Kennesaw State, LSU, the aforementioned LSU, actually, Purdue, and USF. As always, free shipping on orders over $100 every day, and use our code FTRS. Tell them we sent you for 10% off. Jack, that's all I got on Section 103. What do we got next?
We got softball next. They had a very interesting week. They went 2-0 in the midweek, beat West Georgia, beat Georgia State as they should have. The West Georgia game featured a no-hitter by Sidney Watts, our first of any kind since 2021 when Blake Nelliman did one in the ACC tournament. It's the first. Now this is a 5 inning game. So of note there, this is the first 5 inning only 5 inning no hitter since 2015, which is actually combined one by Christina Biggerstaff and Kylie Kleinschmidt. But nonetheless, a no hitter is a no hitter. That's really cool. Glad that she got to have that moment. And we needed a couple wins. That's for sure. Needed just any kind of win because Louisville was not going to be the easiest task for us. And just like the Duke series, we were just a tad short. Not Duke level where it was like inches short on multiple games, but this was they're just so close and they're not getting it. They're so close. They got
Jack, I
swept.
would describe this as not ideal.
No, they got swept. If you
And
can't tell by our despair.
and Louisville's up to number 31 in the country in pair. That's before today's results are factored in. They're not a bad team.
No,
And in
not at
fact,
all.
I think I kind of stand by the fact that it's one of those series where like you kind of just want to elbow the other team out of the way
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
from the pecking order. It really is tough. I think, Georgia Tech is a team that feels more so than anything a little bit snake bitten this year is maybe the
Yeah,
right
that
word
feels
for it.
fair.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's one of many close losses. They're
Hmm.
16-8 at home, they're 2-9 on the road, 1-2 in true neutral site games, but 3-15 in Q1 games, and I have to imagine that goes to 3-16 when today's results are factored in.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a 21st ranked strength of schedule. So, not anything crazy, but I mean it's certainly not one loaded with cupcakes, and just kind of flipping through results against good to great type of teams. Two close losses to FIU, who are
Hmm.
probably maybe not bubble, but they'd be dangerous to find as a 3 seed AQ in your region. A 3-run loss to Florida, a 4-run loss to Florida. You got a handful of close losses to Clemson, UVA, even UGA. That's about a 4-run loss, but
Yeah.
what they lost 2 games or 3 games to Duke by a total of 4 runs. Man, it's just
Yeah.
tough. They're 19-20. I think if they can get back, a couple games above 500, I'd still be feeling good about where they're at, and I
Yeah.
don't see anything that alarms me about this year. It's just
It's
not quite enough or not lucky enough for
yeah.
the randomness generator just doesn't seem to be going their way. Like they played
Yeah.
good games, they played close games. It's a fun team.
Yeah.
That Duke, the UVA, and the Clemson series just really feels a lot different than I think we've seen in past years, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating. I think for them as much as anything to not come away with another 2-3 wins out of Clemson, UVA, Duke, Louisville. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I wrote before the Duke series, like, hey, they've got the key wins that show that they can really do this. They have gotten some big wins here. They're right up there. If they keep on this track, they'll be ahead of the last four in bubble that they've been in and that they've hovered in these like this last season and where they were. And yeah, like and if they had gotten 2 wins out of these last two series, it would have been a much different situation. But now, at least according to the current bracketology, we're in the next four out category. So we've fallen back effectively 8 to 10 spots nationally from being just barely in to and should have been more comfortably in after these last 2 weeks if just a couple things go a different way. And now we're sitting at a spot where we're playing effectively from behind. It's good that we have
yeah,
Boston College coming up this week. Boston College is a team that we should beat. We should sweep, all things considered. And so far, Tech has been beating the teams for the most part that they should beat. They're 9-1 against Q4 teams. They're 5-1 against Q3 teams, and then basically every other game's been a Q1 game. So there's that. These games are at home. We're 16-8 at home right now. Granted, had some easier games there, but still, like they're playing well inside Newborn. Uh, and they played Mercer on the Tuesday on the Wednesday. So they've got winnable games ahead, which is great. And then their road trip to Iowa, ironically, has a lot of winnable games too. So like they've got ways to get wins here, but missing out on any in these last six ACC games is gonna. I mean, it's gonna hit us. It's already hurting us, but it's gonna like it's if we don't massively just start ripping off wins and series wins to close out the year, like that's gonna be those are gonna be pain points because those are wins we kind of needed. Like we have we have three ACC series left, and one of them's Boston College, the other is Virginia Tech, the other is Florida State, and
Jack, they need to go 3-6 in
yeah,
these games to
yeah,
even have like a shot at at what I say
exactly,
is a 500 record, I
yeah,
guess,
yeah,
is a charitable way to do that. And if you drop a game to Boston College, that looks a lot scarier. And
it looks bad, and we
Florida
also
State and VT are juggernauts. They have been
yeah.
for years now at this point.
Yeah, and another team we have in this fold that's actually very helpful in terms of strength of schedule is Jacksonville State. Uh, that's a if you win that, that actually can go a real long way as well. In terms of a good resume booster kind of thing. I believe they're right now they're in the tournament uh, as an AQ, but they've beaten us multiple times in the last few years. So like getting that certainly would be like it would be big. So that's where we're at. Good job by Sydney Watts. That be the pitch like and these I'll mention the scores here 8-5, 6-5, 3-1. Like we're not getting blown out by really any we're barely getting blown out at this point. Like that's not happening. We're not blowing teams out, of course, because we're not winning, but uh like we are holding our own against pretty much every good team we play right now. And it's just
Yeah.
such a bitter pill to swallow when it's when they're losing the way that they're losing. So all right.
Yeah.
On to the tennis teams. We'll quickly wrap through these. Jake, we played Stanford, we played Cal, and the Citadel on the men's side since we last talked. What all should we be drawing from these matches?
Yeah, I think it's kind of that same neighborhood that te men's tennis has been living in, right? Cal is, I would say, roughly comparable, if not slightly worse than Georgia Tech. And it's kind of a match you want back.
Well, what happened?
Stanford,
Sorry, I should have read the
well,
scores.
yeah, I was gonna say
We lost,
Stanford.
yeah, lost to Stanford 4-1, lost to Cal 4-1, beat Citadel 4. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So Cal 4-1 loss, Stanford 4-1 loss. Those are programs that are ostensibly like a top 25 when you're a top 40, top 50-ish type team is theoretically gettable. You know, Georgia Tech dropped the doubles point and then picked up their one point on court six against Stanford. It's tough on a lot of levels to see a couple of matches that make it to a third set, which Tech did. They had two sets make it to a third match, and really kind of the differentiator, if you will, is the one ranked player it seems in Stanford's lineup happened to be playing on court four. He defeated Jonathan Arwanto 7-6 with a 7-4 tiebreak, and then 7-5. That's a close match.
That's interesting.
It's
Yeah.
weird to say
Yeah.
a close 4-1, but like that's some kind of lineup shenanigans that means you are going to be, uh, you know, tough other places. And it says to me, okay, that if you're Stanford or you're Stanford's coach, you said, hey, we're slotting our number one guy there because we think that we can get wins 1, 2, 3, and
Hmm.
that'll be a point that we can put in the bag, right? And it kind of worked for him. Don't
Yeah.
blame him. It kind of
Yeah.
worked.
Just
Tech lost the
strap.
doubles point again against Cal as well, though, which seems to be a theme. Any thoughts on Stanford? Because I feel like the Citadel at 4-0 and you got to win that. So Cal's kind
Yeah.
of where we'd park the rest of our thoughts, I think.
Nothing crazy there. In the matches that were outstanding in singles, Christoph Clement was up 1-0 in his third set. And then who's the other one? Gianluca Carlini was up 3-2 in his third set, after winning the second set. So it's a 4-1 that definitely could have been a 4-3. Uh, all things considered, the matches that we did lose, like we weren't the sets. It's just that Arwanto didn't get to a third set there, so that was we weren't gonna get that. So they got
It's tough.
yeah. We mentioned this before the pod. Like this is not the Andres Martin led level team kind of thing anymore, where there's a real ace of the squad that can get you a point most weeks and help you get that doubles point most weeks. It's just we're not playing at that level at the moment. We just don't have the guys at that level at the moment. So that's just the reality of the team. They play SMU and Boston College this weekend at home. SMU is on Thursday at Ken Byers, and then Boston College is on Saturday. So we got action at Tech. Most I think believe have Tech action most days. Or I don't know if we have the softball too this weekend. Anyways, and then women's tennis, they lost to Miami 4-2, and then beat Florida State 4-2 as well. This was at home. This was senior day for Alejandra Cruz, and she got a win in both of those. And yep, she got wins across the board there. So we like that.
Yeah, the doubles point win against Miami is good stuff, but a lot of more two set type of
Yeah,
action. The thing that kind of jumped out at me, did you notice that court two, unless this is a typo, the number one singles player in the country, question mark, plays for Miami? That would have been news to me.
plays for Miami. Hold on a second.
You said that unless it's just like wrong from the original results. I'm literally
Yeah,
just going through this
no,
right now
that
as we
that
speak. You
that's
see
to,
that
that's
too,
to,
right?
that's totally fair. The current as the most recent rankings per the ITA in terms of female Division One singles, season 25 to 26. No, that's not her. Their current number
Ah,
one plays at Texas.
I was gonna say that seems really weird, but as brought over from the results, so somebody must have fat fingered something somewhere.
It's okay. I know who it is. I'm not gonna yell at them.
That's
They're
okay.
good at their job. Um,
We're all human. It's
yes.
just screamed off the page. Next they get at Duke and at UNC, both top 25 teams. UNC's top five. It's going to be a tough weekend.
Yeah, yeah. This is whoop, not too fun. Not too fun. All right, swim and dive. The last 2 weeks has been a busy time inside the CRC as the women's national championships and the men's national championships have been going on. From the tech side of things, this was pretty much what will Max Fowler do? Will he win? Max, Jake, did Max win?
Max scored some points. He got eighth place in the 1 meter on, I think that was Thursday, maybe Friday. Like time's running together. Maybe it was earlier in the week. I can't really remember at this point, candidly. And then he got 11th in the 3 meter. Um, all great. I mean, that's, two podium, or not podium, but points finishes, if you will. 17 points. So basically 34th in the country based on one Max Fowler. Would have been nice to get just a swimming entry or two in there. So it's kind of a quiet week in terms of like actual tech
Yeah,
activity, but helps to have a really great diver. And Max has um, really done great things on the boards. Back to back first team All American, which means back to back top eight finishes. I guess that makes it an A final for swimming for those who are more swimmers. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird new world that swimming in general is living in, but
yeah,
we'll kind of see how this translates next year. I feel like there was a lot of depth to like, but that depth is not going to be getting A and B cuts. You kind of got to. It's weird.
yeah,
You need depth to win meets, but you need a dude or two or three or a gal or two or three to really start scoring some points at
yeah.
NCAAs.
Yep, that makes sense. That's where they're at. So we'll see how things go for John Ames next season. On the track and field side, there's a split squad there at FSU and Raleigh. Billy Carlton, FSU, set the program record in the 3K steeplechase. Jake, have you looked at the shot sheet? If you haven't looked at the shot sheet, do you know when the previous program record was set in the 3K steeplechase?
I see your highlight, and it makes me sad as a casual observer of steeplechase. But it appears that is 1987, which
Sure is. Eric Smith, his record was beat by about a second. That held for, what is that, 39 years his record held up. So, uh, pretty good.
I find it like almost astonishing that there wasn't some guy in 39 years. Like you'd think it's
Yeah,
a D1 program at an ACC school that there would have been
right.
a dude just
Something,
kind of
especially in the,
happenstance, right?
right. Especially in the 90s when we had a lot of guys that were like really freaking good too. Like between Derek Atkins,
Yeah.
Derek Mills, plenty of other dudes in there that were like really running well for us. And yeah, no, didn't happen.
Hmm.
Uh, Taylor Wade ran the third fastest 5K in program history, so dudes are doing well there. On the Raleigh side, Lottie Chappell, Lottie Chapel and Clara Sheldon have just been kind of going back and forth, just getting faster, slowly knocking times off the board. Now Lottie Chapel's got the third fastest 1500 meters, which was Clara Sheldon's mark 2 weeks ago. But now she beat her by 4/10 of a second, and so now that it's Lottie's. And Claire is bumped back to fourth place, so we'll see how that battle continues throughout the year. They've got the Pepsi Florida Relays next, and that's just that almost sounds fake. I'm not sure. That doesn't sound like a real thing. Oh, it is a
That,
real thing.
brought
Okay.
brought to you by Gatorade, right? I don't know if this was always sponsored by Pepsi, but
Yeah.
one thing I do want to say, and this goes for track, it goes for swimming. You know, Tech is no Texas
Nope.
when it comes to
Nope.
swimming, and they're no Arkansas when it comes to track or this, that, and the other thing, right? But like,
Yeah.
if you're having people that are the X fastest person that's ever been on your team, that's something worth celebrating, and I don't think gets as
Always.
much
Yeah.
buzz, right? And
Yeah.
Max Fowler, 4 All-American finishes is great. Those are hard to come by, right? Lottie
Hmm.
Chapel,
Hmm.
Claire Shelton trading the third fastest time back and forth amongst each other means that they're pushing all those other times down. And
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
that kind of goes to show, like,
Yep.
you know, Taylor Wade, Billy Carlton, Lottie Chapel. I want to say their names just all one more time, right? Those are
Yep.
talented folks, and just because, there might not be an ACC title at the end of all this or something like that for them, it doesn't make it not something that needs to get shouted
Right.
shouted
Right.
out.
Right. Absolutely. Plenty of chances to keep this competition alive. As I mentioned, they got the Pepsi Florida Relays this weekend down in Gainesville. They go to Cleveland, Tennessee the weekend after that, or to Athens, Georgia. So we got lots of stuff going on. And then if you want to watch them run at Tech, April 17th to 18th is the Georgia Tech Invitational. That'll be the last chance we'll have to see them at home compete before next year. And then on to golf. They were at the Goodwin Classic, staple of the Tech scoreboard out in Stanford, California. They finished 14th tied for 14th alongside Cincinnati and Washington, 27 shots behind the winners, Stanford. Interesting. To notes what happened this week, Hiroshi Tai had a really good final round. He had a shot of 65 with a couple eagles in the round three, so that's good way to finish. Overall, he finished 2 over. He was our tied for our best, along with Aiden Tran, who also finished 2 over. Player leaderboard wise, the leader was Mesa Fowler from New Mexico, so they were 10 shots back of the individual lead there. So this is not they're not ranked number 18th in the country right now. Like they're not. This is not the Georgia Tech of the last few years with Crystal Lamprecht and all those dudes running around. This is without Hiroshi Tai, it would probably look a lot worse right now. Honestly, he's got to hold the ship together a little bit in terms of just like scoreboard stability kind of thing. They finished T
And
44th.
and I think that speaks to, just kind of something to ruminate on with college athletics. Like, it wasn't like women's tennis being a top, Final Four
Hmm.
ACC title winner type of team ended overnight. You can have teams, and especially I'm sure even in non-revenue Olympic sports
Hmm.
is still true now. But like, it took a couple years for volleyball to kind of, you know de-escalate and then re-escalate, right?
Yeah.
Golf is kind of on a stair-stepping type of pattern. Men's tennis, women's tennis, these things oscillate, right? And
Right.
softball up and down, like they're gonna change before you know it, because even if somebody's here for 4 years, they're only here for 4 years, and the landscape, especially in the last 5 or 6, has been so all over the place. And
Yeah.
that's, I don't know kind of where my point is there, but like, it was year one of a completely new paradigm in swimming. Who the heck knows where it goes next, right?
Yeah.
It's thought, with Hiroshi, kind of being an era unto himself as a national champion at Tech,
Yeah.
right? These are things that don't feel like they change, and then all of a sudden it's like, ah, shoot, like, yeah, Julia
Yeah.
Bergman did graduate, or
Mhm.
what,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah.
the same with Drew Burris when he goes, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be, oh
Exactly.
shoot,
Yeah.
Haynes King, right?
It's
I haven't
happened. Already happened.
haven't said that name in a while, right?
I
Like,
know. Yeah.
and this has been on my brain, in the back of my brain, and maybe worth a summer philosophical episode. But like, Josh Pastner did like a tell-all about the Jose Alvarado,
Hmm.
Moses Wright early NIL
Yeah.
days, and that's not
Yeah.
really our story to tell because that wasn't really our interview. But like,
No.
shoot, that'll put you back in the field
It really
to
will.
to borrow a very late millennial, early Gen Z coded type of term.
It
But
really will. Yeah.
uh,
To To put
Man.
some yeah, I know. To put some context around this team right now, so they're ranked 18th in the country. That's actually the third highest ACC team, and in terms of like the points version of that, we're a tenth behind North Carolina. So we're effectively, in terms of that, the rating system, effectively neck and neck with North Carolina, and then Virginia is sitting at number two right now. Auburn's a very clear number one, and that's because of Jackson Koivu, who that dude's gonna win in PGA tournaments. He should be in the PGA honestly right now. Like that's kind of crazy that dude's gonna walk to an NCAA championship later this year. So because Auburn exists, don't count on this team probably winning the whole thing unless we get really lucky come then. But all that to say, ACC is very competitive. Like we have a shot in the ACC at least because we're still not very much in the top tier there when it's all said and done. So yeah, at least at the Goodwin here, we were actually the highest ranked team there because Stanford's
Hmm.
ranked 23rd. UCLA is 35th, New Mexico 21st, BYU 24th, Long Beach 31st. Now I'm just saying names and numbers. So yeah, I mean, teams we're still performing well enough to be up there in that conversation, but they've definitely dropped a tier, all things considered. Sense.
Yeah.
Some minor, not minor things, some smaller notes before we get out of here. Lacrosse, their last three games have all been wins. They beat Northeastern and UConn up in Boston a few weekends ago. Won 10-7 over Northeastern, won 12-6 over UConn, and they recently beat Jacksonville 5-3 on Saturday. If you need a thing to do on Saturday afternoon before baseball's not coming, the baseball isn't here. So if you need a thing to do on Saturday afternoon, Georgia's coming to town. They play lacrosse at, I believe, at 1 o'clock, and let me tell you, that's going to be intense. That's going to be a fiery game. That's totally worth going to. So if you got time, need a thing to do, that might be where I end up.
Yeah.
I don't know yet, but that's a real possibility, at least for me, once I saw that on the calendar. Another thing on the calendar for just the general tech populace is the Adidas Surplus event on April 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This happened a few years ago when they transitioned to the current uniform set or recent uniform set. But because we were switching over to Under Armour, they've got to get rid of all their Adidas gear, and what better way than to sell it all to the fans for cheap to fundraise? So that is what's happening.
Yeah.
It is. I went last time with Akshay. It was we got some great stuff from it. Now I am 5'3", so I'm getting there. Please don't get in front of me in line so I can get the small stuff because I know there's probably two things that fit me. But nonetheless, I did what the prices are perfectly reasonable. Like you can walk away with a couple good cool goodies if you need if you have a kid that you know is going to grow to be 6'5", plenty of good stuff for that.
That you
Uh,
know is going to grow.
that
I
you,
feel like
yes,
that's
yeah,
if people could know that, Jack, they'd be very
exactly.
rich
You
to
you
predict
you could
that.
do some
So
preemptive athletic gear shopping for your growing child. That might be a thing, or for yourself. I am not large, so I cannot I don't understand what that life is like. But nonetheless, it's at McCamish. So I know last time like the line like went into the McCamish parking lot and then they let people in and then it was in the Callaway Club. So it looks like it'll be the exact same. I know there were a lot of football jerseys available last time, Gabe Warren jerseys. So I imagine that'll be the case again this time around. That said, I did not understand this until I went there that they of course fit their jerseys for pads, which as someone who never played football didn't realize that that's literally a different kind of t-shirt. It like shrinks on your body really tightly. And so I thought I was going to buy a football jersey. I did not because they look goofy as hell if you don't buy the t-shirt version that's meant for normal people to wear instead of
yeah,
the one that are
yeah,
meant for football pads. So that was a fun thing. It's a fun little excuse to try them on and see how weird it looks
yeah,
if that's what you still want to do. Go find Aiden Burr's jersey or something. So uh,
yeah.
that's all I've got. Have I missed something? Have we done it? Have we done episode 308?
I think we have. I only almost or did wax poetic like three times, so we'll call that a normal episode, and that's
Perfect.
that, right?
There we
So.
go. All right, get us out of here.
Yeah, as always, this podcast is brought to you by FromTheRumbleSeat.com. You can find our written word over there and email us for blog or podcast related content at FromTheRumbleSeat@gmail.com. You can find us on Blue Sky, FDRS blog, Jake Grant 98, Jack Nicholas. You can find Section 103 on Instagram at Section 103. You can find them at their site, section103.com, and you can find them and us all over social media, really. Similar handle, just about everywhere. FTRS blog or From the Rumble Seat, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. You can find Jack and Akshay during football season at GameOnPaper.com for the very best of college football stats. And you can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Until we speak again, good night, good luck. So go Jackets.